Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to my Flosstube channel. This is SavorySewing. You can also find me on Instagram at SavorySewing. A Flosstube channel is a YouTube channel where folks talk about their cross stitch, what they've been stitching, what they want to stitch, what they've bought for stitching, all of those things. And so that's what we're going to do here today. Occasionally I have other sewing projects, but I haven't sewn anything in the last 2 weeks, so I don't have any of that. Just cross stitch. Before we get into the stitching, I would like to thank all of my subscribers. I recently reached 800 subscribers. In the last 2 weeks since I last filmed, I hit 800. So thank you folks for subscribing and hanging out and watching my stitching and commenting and all of those things. I really appreciate it. And to celebrate that, I have some giveaways at the very end of this video. So thank you folks, and I hope you stick around to see those if you're interested. The other thing is it's my birthday today. I am filming this on March 9th. This is my 42nd birthday, and so that part of the giveaways are to celebrate that as well. So yeah, that's what I've got. I was also thinking, given that I have some new subscribers and I realized I have not actually introduced myself or really talked about, how I got into stitching since my very first video, I thought I would do that again in this video. My name, as I said, is Elizabeth. I live in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. I've lived here for about 12 years. I'm originally from upstate New York. And then after that, I went to college. I went to college in New York. I lived in Hawaii for a few years. I got a degree from Michigan State. And then I moved here in 2012 for a job. And I've lived here ever since. I'm a plant pathologist by training, which means I have a degree in the study of plant diseases. I cannot properly diagnose your houseplant problem, but I will say they're usually one of three things. You're either not enough light, too much water, or you possibly have fungus gnats, or what are the other? Spider mites. Those are usually what's wrong with folks' houseplants. My area of expertise is really in nursery crops and garden outdoor plants, not so much in houseplants, but most folks have houseplants and that's what they're interested in. So anyway, neither here nor there, but that's a little about me. I live in Oregon, as I said, with my partner and my dog, and I've been cross-stitching in earnest since about 2020. I'm a pandemic cross-stitcher. I will actually be showing you my first and oldest WIP later in this video because it is a WIPGO call. I stitch a lot of a variety of things. Pretty much whatever whatever catches my eye. I don't stitch any, if any, full coverage. That's just not my jam. And I don't really have, I think, any reproduction samplers in my stash. I've stitched some sampler things, so if those are the kinds of things you're looking for, I don't really stitch those. I do stitch a lot of Halloween witchy sort of things because that's what I like. So I do have a kind of random selection of WIPs today. It is my birthday month, and so I decided for that I was going to stitch whatever I wanted, which means randomness ensues. Enough about me. Let's look at some stitching. I have two finishes. Oh, excuse me. This month, one is a start and finish, and one is a finish since February because I filmed my last video February 25th. And so before actually we do March stitching, let me just give quick February stats because I usually like to record this in my video. So in February, let's see, what did I do? I had 6 new starts, 4 finishes, and I stitched on 26 out of 29 days. And I usually count the number of different projects I work on, but I didn't this month or that month. So I'm going to show you the last couple things I worked on in February and then what I've started so far in March. My first finish is this one. This is Red-Faced Warbler by Lindy Stitches. This was part of her Bird Crush Club. This is stitched with all the called for floss, including this Threadworks that is the red. All the kits came with one Threadworks. The rest of it's DMC, and then it's stitched on. This is a 32 count Lugana by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers in the colorway Summer Soiree. So with this bird being done, I'm now done with 11 of the 12 birds, and so I just have one left. I'm excited about that. I'm planning on stitching that one, I think, in August. So was on these two, the last two birds that I had, or actually last three, because I finished one in January, this one in February, and then I've got one more, and I'll be done with that whole series, which I'm excited about. Let's finish number one. Finish number two is a start and finish. So I am stitching the D's 20 Stitches is hosting a stitch along for Pride, Stitch for Pride 2024. I'll put well, this is the logo here. This stitch along was available only through the end of the year. They have talked about how they're going to re-release it. I would recommend that you either go watch their Flosstube channel or go check out their Instagram, and they have, I think, a saved story that explains their plan for these patterns going forward. So I am done through March. So here is where I am. So March's pattern is that sriracha bottle. The theme of this is obviously Pride. Andy's designing each one of these motifs based on a different queer artist. And so January was Keith Haring, February was Kehinde Wiley, and this is Stephanie H. She, who does ceramics, and they are known for making ceramic art out of everyday things. And so that's where the inspiration for the sriracha bottle came from. I'm stitching this with the called for floss, which was dyed by Knitting Nurse Jasmine, KN Yarns. And so they're all just named after the artists. And I'm stitching it on, I don't remember what count this is, but it's by Fortnite Fabrics in the colorway Elegant. And I'm really excited about all of these. I know there's no more floss packs available. You might be able to get still, there's a called for fabric that was dyed by Miss Light Pages. I don't know if that's still available, but I guess if you haven't already bought the supplies, because you didn't, you might not have gotten the pattern, so it might be a moot point anyway. But I'm loving this so far. I'm stitching mine as, one piece. A lot of folks are stitching them individually. It's going to be about this big when it's done. So this is a start and finish in March. All right, next is a piece that I worked on at the end of February. I'll put a picture here. This is the Third Day of Christmas by Hello from Liz Mathews. I'm planning on stitching all the pieces in this series. And this is where I am. You can see I've got all of the colors done, except I need to finish filling in the house. And then I need to stitch all of the snowflakes that are left. So top border, bottom border, and then there's some snowflakes here. And then this one's done. This is on 40 count fog linen from, I think this is Fiber on a Whim, and all the called for DMC. I'm stitching them all on the same fabric, and I've got the other, this is my third of, the first three should be hopefully done at the end of the month. Hopefully. So I really love those little chickens. That was one of my last February whips. All right, the next one is a Witchy Stitcher pattern. So I was watching a new to me Flosstuber, Jen's Fiber Arts, and she had finished this and had a frame for it that looked amazing and inspired me to get it back out. So this is Poisonous Plants by the Witchy Stitcher. You can see it's called for on black fabric. I'm stitching mine on a neutral, very modeled fabric from Forbidden Fiber Co. I can't remember the colorway, but I really love how it's looking. All the called for DMC, although I did change the green in the border. This is the classic Colorworks green, English Ivy, instead of the green that was called for. I thought it was going to be a little bit more variegated. It's really not. It probably wasn't worth it, but it looks nice. So the only change I made other than that was the words are in DMC 310 versus I think they're white on the original pattern because it's stitched on black. And then I ended up changing the words Poisonous Plants to black as well because that was like a light tan color that just blended right in with the fabric. So that's where I am. I really love this. I'd like to get this finished. It's not a ton of stitching, it's just a lot of counting. And then the back stitching for the words is a little bit fiddly too, but it looks really good. So that's Poisonous Plants by the Witchy Stitcher. Next is a piece that I'm stitching with a group of folks. We call it the hashtag Moonglow Magic Sal. There are some folks who also are stitching this using hashtag Embrace the Fold Sal. And it is Moonglow by Nora Corbett. Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe, Allie from Allie's is Crafty, Katie the Peacock Stitcher, and a number of other folks are also stitching this. And this is where I am. I'm stitching mine on 28 count Lugana by hand dyed by Rolanda, the colorway Olive. And I started in the bottom middle of the blanket because I really wanted to start stitching with those silks. And I have now gotten so that this is the whole width of the bottom. And I just need to finish filling in those roses, and then I'm going to work my way up the lady, and then probably start up the flowers on this side because it'll be the easiest counting. So I'll probably go here next, and then here, and then I'll finish her last. But I really love this, and the water lilies are so nice to stitch with. So beautiful. All right. Okay, my next WIP is part of my WIPGO, and so I'll put a picture of my WIPGO board in here. The 2 calls for March, I will have to admit, I can't remember what the numbers are, but I know what my projects are. When I made my WIPGO board, my goal was to finish off my 2020 and 2021 WIPs that were remaining. And all of the 2020 WIPs that are on the WIPGO board are finish goals. The 2021s are on there each twice, and they get 3 days each. So this is one of my WIPGO projects for this month. This is from Just Cross Stitch magazine. This is the October 2020 issue, and this is called Don't Be Scared. And it is original artwork by Kim Leo of Kim's Cottage Art, and the adaptation for the cross stitch was done by Elizabeth Spurlock. I started this, I think, in like April of 2021, and so it's been hanging out for a while. I guess you probably want to see where I am, right? So this is on Ada. This is 14 count Ada in the colorway Flapper by Picture This Plus. It's this beautiful variegated purple, and this is where I am. I know that I worked on these 2 trees over here on the first day. This is going to get 3 days this month. It's gotten 1 so far. I'm hoping to get more of those trees in, and then maybe try to go across so I can figure out where the end is. It just really depends on what day I pull it out and how much bandwidth I have to stitch that day. But I really like it. I just really like it. All right. Okay, excuse me. Those were all the WIPs I worked on this month, or at least in the last 2 weeks. So not too many. Usually I am a much more random stitcher, but this month I was, or at least the last 2 weeks, there were a few days when I didn't get to stitch at all, and other than that, I was a more what's the word? Monogamous, whatever, more monogamous than usual. Okay, so the last thing I did in February, so February 29th obviously was Leap Day, and lots of folks I know were planned big Leap Day starts. You start something on Leap Day, and the goal is to finish it before the next Leap Day. So it's a good day to start big projects. A lot of folks started long dogs, and I wasn't planning on starting anything. And then I got a major case of FOMO on the afternoon of the 29th and was like, what can I start? What do I have fabric for? What do I have floss for? And I started this. You know her, you love her. She's Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So I started in the middle because I wasn't planning and I knew it would fit if I started in the middle. And here's a giant piece of fabric with my little tiny start. So I started the middle block, which is those 2 witches with the cauldron. And I had the DMC that was the cauldron. So that's what we've got started. 1 day of stitching on Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. I had originally planned in my, scheming to stitch this on purple. I've seen some folks stitch it on purple and it looks really beautiful. But I had this, when FOMO hits and you have to have a start, you do what you can. And I think this fabric is perfect. This is Dusty Cottage by Bestitch Me. I just got this in my I think this is my first fabric of the month fabric. And this is a 40 count. So I'm stitching it 1 over 1 on 40 count. So it'll be big, but it won't be, I think it was called for on I don't know, I can't find the list right now. But anyway, she's still going to be big, but not that big. And I'm super excited to have her started because you know, if you don't start them, you can't finish them, right? So that was my FOMO start on Leap Day. I have 2 more new starts because, as I said, today's my birthday. And I had 2 March plans, and folks wanted to stitch to also, several folks were also starting these things with me. And so I decided we were going to have double birthday starts. And so the first one is here. And this is Oona Owl by the Artsy Housewife. I just love this little owl. And I think in my last video I mentioned she has a new owl, which I've also, it's winging its way to me through the USPS from Miss Lay Pages. So I'll start that as well. I am stitching mine. So I converted it all completely to Classic Colorworks. It was called for in some Classic Colorworks, some other fancy flosses in DMC. I just made a little quick and dirty Classic Colorworks conversion. It's very, very close to the called for. And in order to be able to say I had this started today before I filmed, I put 42 stitches into it. Oops, it goes this way. It's very unimpressive. I am stitching it 1 over 1 on 25 count. That's why it's so tiny. And that's why also I'm stitching it in this little pink plastic hoop. I found that I can't stitch 1 over 1 on 25 count in hand. I have to have a hoop or something. I need it to be tauter in order to be able to stitch. If I try to stitch it in hand, it just looks awful. So that's what we're doing. Here's my little start of Oona. And I know a couple other folks have Oona on the go and are stitching along with me and have wished me happy birthday already today and show me their progress. So thank you, folks. I really appreciate it. My next new start is a big one, which I'm 90% sure I talked about in my last video. I know I did. So this is Olivia the Forest Witch by Filipina. I'll put a picture in here so you can see her better in her glory without the ring light. She also has an owl on her, which is fitting. I am stitching this with Frala Knits from Stephanie. Stephanie from Frala Knits. She's stitching hers on 28 count Cyprian, and she hasn't sent me photos yet, but I know she started it this morning and even got some of the Krynic in. And I don't know, I think that must mean she started in the middle too, because there's definitely Krynic and beads and Karen water lilies in the middle. So I've only put, again, 42 stitches in this. So I'm going to show you the whole piece of fabric, and then I will zoom in and show you my tiny, tiny 42 stitch start. So here is the whole beautiful piece of fabric. This is Fall Foliage by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers, which is the fabric that was dyed for this project. This is what I stitched this. Yeah, that's the way it goes. This is what I stitched this morning, so I could say that I started it today. I will be working on this more this afternoon so that I can get a little bit more in on both of them, but I wanted them to be definitely starts today. And that's all I've stitched so far this month. I feel like I stitched more than that, but I didn't. It is what it is. Next, I'm going to talk briefly about plans, and then I've got a present I want to show you all and a thank you I want to give, some Flosstubers to mention, and then my giveaways. The next thing, I'm going to stitch on probably all of these pieces that you've already seen this month. I'm going to definitely work more on Oona and Olivia and possibly start that other Artsy Housewife owl when it comes, depending on what the floss is. I haven't even looked. I think I have fabric. I'm going to work on my WIPGO. You saw Don't Be Scared. My other WIPGO call for this month is a finish goal, which should be doable. And it is my oldest and first cross-stitch WIP from March of 2020, when I bought something off Etsy, placed an online order at Michael's and picked it up, and then worked on it for a long time, and then got, you know how it is, folks. The cross-stitch squirrels are intense. I also made some rookie mistakes in this, so it's not exactly a pleasure to stitch, but here it is. if any of you know, this is Stardew Valley. This is a really wonderful game that's on a lot of systems now. Originally, it was just a PC game. And I think what I would say is when I first started cross-stitching, I was thinking I was going to stitch more stuff like this. I have not stitched more stuff like this. So I'm going to finish this month. That's my goal. There's not a ton of stitching left. I just need to do it. And it's a finish goal. So I feel like if I keep saying I'm going to finish it, I'm actually going to finish it. We'll see. We shall see. So that's a WIPGO. And yes, I suppose you'll see. I'll be back in 2 weeks and we'll see what I got done. Next, I would like to say a big, huge thank you to Stephanie from Frolinettes, who sent me a lovely birthday gift. These showed up at my house and they did not have her name on them, so I wasn't quite sure who sent them. The name that was on them was not Stephanie. And so I did not know if they reached out and asked if they came. And so she sent me all of the flosses for Hibernation Day by Heartstring Samplery. I will put a picture here. Evertote's Roxy Floss did a conversion, which Stephanie is stitching, and Caroline from Evertote just finished hers. And I was planning on starting this year, and now I've got the floss to do it, and I'm very, very thank you. This was so kind and so generous. Like, look how beautiful they are. Look how pretty. So excited. So I will definitely be starting that. Once I find fabric, which I think won't be a problem at all. It is a very long piece, so I think it might mean I have to do some shopping depending on what the measurements are. But who doesn't like shopping for cross stitch stuff? I think it's fair to say we all like that, right? All right. The other things that I would like to mention is I watched some new Flosstubers in the last couple weeks. Jen from Jen's Fiber Web, they mentioned me in one of their videos, and I think it was because of my Dark Queen finish. And I'd also already followed them on Instagram and had been watching them stitch on the face and finish their Dark Queen. So that was fun to put Instagram and Flosstube together. And so then I went and binge watched all of her videos, which are lovely. She's also a knitter. And I would say between her and Stephanie and some of the other cross-stitch / knitting folks out there, you guys are making it really hard for me not to want to buy all of the yarn and add another craft to my already excessive crafting repertoire. I do not need another fiber to stash. I already have a pile of fabric. You can't even see all the fabric. You can't even see all the floss. I don't need it. I want it. So I'm trying very hard to resist. The other floss tuber that I started watching in the last couple of weeks was Tartans and Threads. They're from Australia. They also have a really lovely floss tube, and I watched, I think, maybe close to all of their videos. I binged them the other day. Lovely. And then the other person who just posted a video that I really loved was Dr. Christy from Christy's Corner. She was taking a fiber crafting class or something and had to make this mixed media piece, and it is so cool. You should go watch. She did a whole video just on that, but she's also been posting on Instagram and showing pieces of it on her floss tubes over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. So cool. That lady is so talented. Oh my goodness. I can follow a pattern, but like this is like legit art. It's very, very cool. So those are the folks that I've been watching, and well, at least the new folks that I've been watching. I've been watching Dr. Christy for a while because she's lovely, but Jen's Fiber Arts and Tartans and Threads are two new to me floss tubers. So, okay, with that, I would like to talk about giveaways. This is the first time I've ever done a giveaway. So if I screw this up completely, folks, be patient. I also hate the post office, so this might not be the best choice for me, but I would love to give these away and send them off to stitchers who want to stitch them and give them new life, because at least 2 of them are brand new patterns. One of them I've stitched, but I had 2 copies. One of them is a brand new pattern that I'm not planning on stitching, and then the other 2 are gently used. I don't highlight or anything on my patterns, so, and I try to keep them in the plastic, so they're in very, very good shape. There's one caveat to that, which I will tell you all about. But anyway, free patterns if anyone's interested. So the first one is this one. Oh, there we go. This is Love Letter to the Cross Stitch Nation by Heartstring Samplery. This is brand new. I'm just not planning on stitching it. And if you'd like this, please use the word nation in your comment. Next is this one. So I did stitch this. I'll put a picture in. This is Beautiful Things by Lindy Stitches. And I'm going to take this out because I want to show you. So I stitched this. Oops, that's upside down. And one thing about this one is, so this has a fairly complicated, it's not complicated border, but there's a lot of color changes. This one does have some handwriting on it where I labeled what the colors were. If that will bother you, I would say don't ask for this pattern. But it just has either the Classic Colorworks or the DMC just marked up because I was stitching this and it was faster for me to do that than to look at the key every time, and there were too many things for me to memorize. So other than that, it's in perfectly good shape and free to a good home. Please use the word bird if you'd like that pattern. Next is another pattern. This one's brand new. I stitched this, but I had 2 copies. So this is one of the copies. This is Whimsy Halloween by Teresa Kogut. I just love her little witches so much. I've stitched this one. I've stitched one of her Patreon patterns. I really want the Angry House one. I just have not. I have plenty of witch patterns, but this is on the someday list. So if you'd like this, please use the word whimsy in your comment. W-H-I-M-S-Y, whimsy. Look at that little witch. So cute. And then finally, where did I put it? Oh. So this is a Shepherd's Bush pattern. And if you buy this in their store or wherever else they might sell them, it's a kit. It comes with the fabric, the floss, the backing fabric, buttons, and trim. So here's mine. Look how cute. Look at that little witch. And I filled this with walnut shells. And it came with this fabric. So what I would send, we'll send someone. So I don't have more buttons, obviously, but I'm going to leave the floss, the rest of the floss that came with it here. Some of these colors are enough to stitch, you know, the motifs. Not all of them are. Like, I know you'd need more black. But I'm going to include these because I'm not going to use them. I also decided I cut a piece of backing fabric from my stash. So these cute little flowers, which I think fit in really cute with the pattern. And then I had some of the Lady Dot Creates Chenille in my stash. So you'll get the pattern with the extra floss and some backing fabric and chenille to make your own little pillow. I strangely enough don't have anything close to the called for, and I would also think this is big enough for most counts of fabric. This is bigger than what they provided, so you should be able to make this on any count fabric, and this should be enough. I didn't want to, like, you know, if you don't want to stitch on 36 count, that's all I've got. I wasn't going to pick fabric for folks. So that is available. If you would like this, use the word season because it's called a witching season. So giveaway rules apply. You've likely heard these from every Flosstuber who's ever done a giveaway. You have to be 18 so I can get your address. Please don't use the words giveaway, prize, what have you in the comments. We don't want trolls. And this is not sponsored by YouTube. It has no monetary value. If it gets lost in the mail, it is what it is. So thank you very much for all the Flosstube love. I'm blown away that I have 800 subscribers. And this is my 800 subscriber birthday gift to all y'all. Also, if you would be a subscriber and like and all of those good things, I would appreciate it. But, you know, it is what it is. So we've got Love Letter to the Cross Stitch Nation. Use the word nation. Beautiful Things. Use the word bird. Whimsy Halloween. Use the word whimsy. And a witching season. Use the word season. And I think that's all I've got. Thank you, folks, for watching if you've made it this far. Thank you very much for joining me in this little Flosstube adventure and subscribing and liking and all of those things. I very much enjoy it here on Flosstube. I also love chatting with folks on Instagram. It's been a lot of fun. It was very scary at first, but y'all aren't so scary. So if you are also out there thinking about trying a Flosstube channel, it's not that scary. It's not always fun, but it is legit work, but it's not that scary. So with that, thank you so much. I look forward, if you are stitching an owl, or Oona owl specifically, or Olivia the Forest Queen this month, or Forest Witch, excuse me, and if you're stitching any of those things, I would love it to see them. If you're stitching for me for my birthday, which thank you, tag me, because I would love to be enabled to buy more owl patterns. Michelle from Shittick Winds already enabled me this morning, which I love. So with that, thank you folks. Happy stitching.